He had not slept in 2 nights when the landlord knocked again. The sound was not loud, but it carried the weight of final warning. He sat on the edge of his narrow bed, staring at the floor where the paint had peeled away like old promises. His stomach burned with hunger, his eyes burned with shame, and the morning light that slipped through the cracked curtain felt more like an accusation than hope. He was broke, ignored, and tired. Tired in a way that sleep could not fix. There had been a time when he walked those same streets with his head high. He used to iron his only suit carefully, polishing shoes that now sat dusty by the door. But months without work had worn him thin. Each interview ended with polite smiles and closed doors. Each rejection felt softer in tone, but heavier in meaning. "We'll call you," they said. They never did. His phone had grown so quiet that even scam calls felt like company. At first, he fought it with optimism. He woke before sunrise, searching for opportunities, writing applications by the dim kitchen light. He skipped meals to save coins for bus fare. He told himself this was temporary. He told himself storms pass, but storms that last too long begin to feel like climate. Neighbors stopped greeting him the same way. Their eyes lingered too long on his worn jacket. Pity replaced respect. In the market, he calculated every coin before reaching for bread. The shopkeeper once slipped him an extra apple with a quiet nod, but even kindness began to feel like humiliation. His younger sister used to call him his hero. Now she asked careful questions about money. He would smile and change the subject. He could endure hunger, but he could not endure the thought of her losing faith in him. Faith, he learned, is lighter than dust and heavier than mountains. The landlord returned that evening with sharper words. "Tomorrow," he said, pointing to the door, "or I change the lock." The sentence hung in the air like smoke. After he left, silence filled the room, thick and suffocating. He stared at his hands, once steady, once confident, now trembling slightly. What breaks first inside a man, his wallet or his will? That night, he walked through the city without direction. Streetlights flickered like tired stars. He passed restaurants where laughter spilled onto sidewalks, warm and careless. He passed a group of young men celebrating a new job. He wondered what invisible line he had crossed to be left behind. At a corner near the old bridge, he saw an elderly man struggling with a wooden cart filled with scrap metal. The cartwheel was bent, refusing to roll straight. Cars honked angrily as the old man tried to move aside. For a moment, he hesitated. He had his own problems, his own collapsing world. But something inside him, something not yet broken, pushed him forward. He grabbed the side of the cart and helped steer it toward the pavement. The old man's hands were rough, his back curved like a question mark. "Thank you," the man whispered, voice dry as the desert wind. It was a simple gratitude, but it felt different from pity. It was respect. They spoke for a while. The old man collected scrap each day to survive. No family, no savings, just slow steps and stubborn breath. "The earth is hard," the old man said, tapping the ground with his stick, "but it still carries us." Then he smiled, revealing gaps where teeth once were. It was not a smile of comfort, but of endurance. The next morning, instead of packing his belongings in despair, he returned to the bridge. He found the old man again and helped him push the cart through narrow streets. They worked under a burning sun, sweat tracing silent paths down their faces. The work was heavy, the pay small, but something unexpected happened. The tiredness that came from effort felt different from the tiredness of rejection. One drained the body, the other drained the soul. Days turned into weeks. He learned how to separate metals, how to bargain without begging, how to fix the bent wheel with scrap parts. Children in the neighborhood began waving at them. Some mocked them, laughing at the sight of a young man pushing trash. Others offered water on hot afternoons. Every reaction revealed something about human hearts. Cruelty comes easily when pride is untouched. Mercy appears when one remembers their own fragility. One afternoon, as they sorted metal behind a warehouse, a well-dressed man approached, anger sharp in his eyes. He accused them of stealing from the property. The old man tried to explain, but the accusations grew louder. Workers gathered, whispering. Shame rose like fire in his chest. He could have shouted back. He could have thrown the metal down and walked away forever. Instead, he stood silent, fists clenched, eyes lowered. The warehouse owner eventually emerged. He listened quietly, examined the cart, and realized the mistake. The scrap had been abandoned. The accusation faded as quickly as it had arrived. The well-dressed man walked away without apology. Injustice often leaves without saying goodbye. But the owner did not. He studied the young man's face, tired but steady. "Why are you doing this work?" he asked. The answer came without pride, without bitterness. "Because it is honest," he said. It was the first time in months he had spoken without defending himself. The owner offered him temporary work organizing inventory inside the warehouse. It was not glory, it was not a dream career, but it was stability. He accepted, still helping the old man each evening with the cart. With steady income, he paid his rent. The landlord's tone softened. Respect returned, slowly, cautiously. But something inside him had changed. He no longer chased approval with desperate hands. He had seen how quickly status disappears. He had felt the thin line between dignity and despair. The old man grew weaker as winter approached. Cold air cut through our jackets. One evening, as they sat beside the cart under fading light, the old man said, "You think you saved me that night at the bridge. Maybe you did, but you also saved yourself." His words lingered long after silence swallowed them. Weeks later, the old man did not appear at the bridge. Neighbors said he had passed quietly in his sleep. No headlines, no ceremony, just another life folded back into the earth. The cart remained by the wall, wheels slightly bent again. He stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space where the old man once stood. Loss did not arrive with thunder. It arrived like a door closing gently. Years passed. He grew within the company, trusted for his patience and steadiness. He hired workers who reminded him of himself, tired, overlooked, carrying silent battles. He listened before judging. He corrected without humiliating. Hardship had carved something softer inside him. Sometimes on quiet evenings, he would walk back to the bridge. The city still buzzed with ambition and noise, but he would stand there remembering the night he almost let his own despair swallow him. He understood now that being broke was not what nearly destroyed him. Being ignored was not the deepest wound. It was the slow belief that he no longer mattered. What if he had chosen anger that night? What if pride had kept him from pushing that cart? His life might have hardened into bitterness. Instead, a small act, almost invisible, redirected the course of his days. He was broke, ignored, and tired. Then this happened. He chose to remain human when everything inside him wanted to collapse. He chose patience when rage felt justified. He chose to help when he needed help himself. And in the quiet turning of ordinary days, without miracle or applause, his life shifted. Not because the world suddenly became kind, but because he refused to let hardship decide who he would become. The earth remained hard, doors still closed, nights still stretched long, but he walked differently now. Not lighter, not richer in pride, just steadier. Like a man who has learned that even in darkness, the smallest act of mercy can become a path. And sometimes, that is enough.